Hello and welcome to episode 57 of the She.Must.Knit podcast. My name is Erin and thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. I hope you guys had a great week. I had a super busy week. On the last episode, I had mentioned that I was going to be going to the Toronto Knitters Frolic the next day on a Saturday, and I did, and it was a crazy but lovely show. If you came and you stopped by my booth to say hi, thank you so much. It was so nice to talk with you. But yeah, the craziness did not end there. I have another show tomorrow morning, tomorrow all day, at the Sunshine Fiber Fest in Aurelia. So not only did I have to come back from the frolic and kind of recover from that, but I also had to kind of evaluate where my inventory was and what I had to do for this show, and then I only had a week to get that done. And it wasn't just that. Like, I found that every single day I was out running around doing errands. I had to grocery shop to kind of recoup the fridge from over the weekend, and then I had to do library runs. We had books due. I had other things that I needed to pick up. I feel like every single day this week I have been running around and just trying to organize and get things ready for this show, plus get all the other things done that need to get done. Avery has her communion this weekend. That's another thing. So that was one of the errands. We had to go out and get some shoes for her. So it's just been never ending. But I did still get some knitting done. Now, I will say that I greatly overestimated how much time I would have this week. I had all these plans for all these projects that I was going to finish for this month and get done this week, and that did not happen. But I feel like I still got a bunch of work done on, I've got little bits and pieces. I have little bits and pieces to share with you. I think it's still going to be a good little episode for you. So let's get started. What do I have for you today? I have two projects that I'm working on. So one is one that I only show you now and then, so I have progress on that project. I have progress on a project that I shared with you last week. I have two new cast-ons, so that's exciting. I have the collection for this week. I have the vote for the next collection. I have my monthly update, so what were my goals in April? Did I complete them? And then also what my goals for May will be. And then I'm also going to throw in a little extra thing. Last episode I shared with you how I organize my needles and my stitch markers, and while I was showing you my needle organization case thingy, in one of the pockets was a tension glove that I wear if I've been knitting for a while, or if I'm on a deadline and my wrist starts to bother me, I will pop that on. I mentioned how that really helps. And one of my viewers, Louise, hi Louise, you asked if I could go into a little bit more detail about this glove, how it fits, and more about what it does. So I am going to do that towards the end and right before we get to the collection. So let's get started. I am going to have a quick sip of my coffee. I have vanilla hazelnut today, and while it is not, I have not been able to do my Bones coffee order yet, but I was over at our local market, which is just down the street, and I noticed they had a whole display of like a house brand coffee, and that they've just introduced, and they did have some flavors. So nothing too interesting, nothing like popcorn or Fruit Loops or all those different ones that I like to try, but they did have vanilla hazelnut. That sounded good enough, and I got it, and it is quite tasty. So let's get started with the knitting. Before I get into my projects, I do want to announce the winner for April. So if you are a new viewer, every month I take all the comments made on all my videos for that month. Each comment on any video any given month is worth an entry, and then also any item ordered in my shop is worth an entry. And at the end of the month I do a draw, and that person gets a $20 coupon to use in my shop. It's just my way of saying thank you for your support, thank you for watching my podcast, thank you for engaging. It just means a lot to me. So yes, I like to do that every month. So I drew the winner for this month, and the random number generator picked Catherine Stewart. So congratulations, Catherine. You are the winner this month. You can contact me. I know you know how. You have been a viewer for a while. You've been following me for a while. So you know how to contact me, and I will get that coupon set up for you. So, knitting. We are going to start with, I think, the project that I've been working on that is kind of a long-term project. And the one I'm talking about is my my mitered square blanket. So this is something that I've been working on for about 2 years, and what I like to do is whenever I am finished a fingering weight project and I have some leftovers, I will put it into this blanket and put a square in, and then if there's anything left after that, I would put it into my granny stripe blanket, but I am doing again this year a bunch of advent swaps with my friends, and so after I put the square in my blanket, I have been winding off some little 10-gram balls to put aside for the swap, and then I try and leave just a little bit for my granny stripe blanket, because for my granny stripe blanket, because it's crochet, it doesn't really matter how much yarn goes into it as long as it's a little bit, whereas with the mitered square blanket I need a very specific amount so that I can finish a square. So over the last couple of months I've been finishing some other fingering weight projects, and I have since now put all of those into my blanket. So this is what I have done so far. Now I think last time I showed it to you, I had showed you either this square here, which was from my February socks, or this square here, which is from my March socks. I'm not sure where I ended off, but I know I have not shown you the square since, because actually I think it must have been February, because I've made a boo-boo. And it's something that I know is there and that I would notice, but I really don't think anybody else would notice, so I decided to leave it in. And that's because also I only had so much of this yarn left, so I didn't know if I'd have enough to fix it. But when I was doing my March square here, and I picked up, so what you do is you pick up along this edge here, and then you pick up along this edge here. And I should have picked up all the way to this corner here, so it would have been the full top of this other square down here. And as you can see, I only picked up to here. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why I did that. So I picked up only to there, and I finished the square. And it wasn't until I think I was doing this one here that I realized what I had done, and I didn't want to rip out this square and do it again because I didn't know if I'd have enough yarn to add that extra little bit there. I think the first time I started this square here, I kind of just picked up along there and tried to do the decreases so that it would be a center line from this corner here. And yeah, I should have known that wasn't going to work. It kind of puckered, it looked a little weird, and at first I was like, oh, it's fine, it'll block out when the blanket's bigger. But we all know what happens when I say it's going to be fine. It's almost never going to be fine. It's going to bug me, and I'm going to have to fix it eventually. So I decided to just rip it out. So I ripped it out and I went back, and I just picked up so that the edge would be straight. It's not, you know, in line perfectly, but at least the square is flat and the blanket will be flat. So I did that, and then so these two squares here are from my micro stripe socks that I did with the this yarn here, and then this was a sock blank. So that was my micro stripe socks, and then I've also put in the two squares from my Scott base socks that I finished recently, and then this week I also was able to put in my square from my April DVD socks. So this is all up to date now with all the fingering yarns that I have left over from projects, and it'll probably be another month or so before I share that with you again. The next thing I'm going to show you is the progress that I have made on my sample socks. So last week I had mentioned how I was trying to get a pair of sample socks done for my booth when I do the yarn shows to show how my deluxe sock sets knit up. My deluxe sock sets consist of a 50-gram speckled skein, and then 2 tonal mini skeins, and then a little stitch marker, and I wanted people to be able to see what sizes of socks that you could get out of it because it's not a full 100 grams. And I think last week I showed you I was working on the first sock and I was working down the foot of that sock. And this week I was able to finish the first sock. I don't think I had it at the frolic. It was not finished. I had it down to about here. I did not have any time to knit at the frolic. It's a very, very busy show, but this was still very helpful to have in the booth so that people could see what the kind of sock sets, what they knit up like, and then also to give an idea of how far the yarn goes. I had been weighing my yarn to see how much of the main skein I was using. But yeah, so since the frolic, I finished the first sock. So for my show tomorrow, I will have one finished sock. I am doing them in reverse. So the 2 mini skeins that I have in the set, In this particular one, this is the Bling Your String colorway, and I actually have a listing set up on my website now for a pre-order if you really like how this looks. There are options for 4 different mini skeins, so you don't have to go with the orange and the purple. There's purple, orange, I think pink, and gray that you can choose from, and then the main skein will be the same. But for the second sock, so I have cast on the second sock. Just the wee little start. One of the tips I always say if you suffer from second sock syndrome is as soon as you finish the first sock, cast on the second, even if it's just the cast on stitches. I find by doing that, I never let that second sock kind of languish, because then it's all ready to just pick up and go. So I've got my second sock started. I think I will have a little bit of time to work on this at the show tomorrow because it's their first year. I don't expect it to be as busy as some of the more established shows that I do. So I might have time tomorrow to get a little bit of work done on this. But basically I'm just doing my sample socks as a vanilla sock because these will eventually be for me. I am following the kind of numbers that I have found that work for me. So I like to cast on 80 stitches. I do about 25 rows of 2x1 rib. I do the leg for about 5 inches or so. I like to do a German short row heel. I have been experimenting with different heels, but I have found, if you remember back to my micro stripe socks, I put in a German short row heel just because I felt like that would work best with the micro striping. And those have become my favorite socks. So working top down, I think because I do start with more stitches, it seems like the German short row heel fits me fine. So that is great because I love doing that heel. It's so quick and easy. And so I'm doing that again for this pair here. So yeah, so I start with 80 stitches, cuff, leg, put in the German short row heel, and then after the heel I decrease down to about 70 stitches, and that's what I stay with that stitch count for the rest of the foot. So we'll see next week how far I have left on these. I would love to get these done sooner than later because I do have shows kind of all throughout the summer and the fall. And it's one of my goals on my bingo card this year is to make a pair of sample socks for my boots. So the next work in progress that I have to show you is my May Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. I finished my April ones, and about 2 days ago was the first of the month, so I was able to get those cast on, and so I did. And I am loving how this colorway is knitting up. So this is how much I have so far. The color is called Soul Train. This is one that I think I got this last year. Or this might have even been one of my bonus skeins. So at the end of the year, because I completed the whole year, I think we were able to choose, or maybe it was the Instagram. Anyway, Susan has so many incentives with this challenge. There's lots of opportunities to earn yarn, and I think this was one of the ones that I earned from completing last year's challenge. But I really love how there's like that gray and that cream neutral and just those really pretty colors. And these are for me. I know I've mentioned before that my goal for this year was to try and get all my gift socks done at the first half of the year, and then that would leave the second half of the year to make socks for myself. Well, I looked at my list, and the only person left who I absolutely have to get socks done for is my brother Evan. He is the older of my 3 younger brothers, so he's the only one left. Everybody else has socks. I've kind of been contemplating maybe making a pair for Avery's teacher for the end of the year, but that's not like a must-do. So really it's just Evan. Now I looked into my Desert Vista Dyeworks stash, and not only did I not really have a colorway that I thought would be good for Evan, but I have learned that he is yet another brother who needs like workhorse yarn, like your Regia, your Opal, your like the yarns that survive the apocalypse, that kind of yarn. And I realized this, I kind of knew that he was hard on his socks before, but I think it was last weekend I was at my mom's because I had to bring Avery over. She was watching her while I was at the frolic. And Evan was there, and I looked down, and he was wearing a pair of socks that I made him. It had to have been at least 7-8 years ago. I think I had finished them right before Avery was born. And the toes were completely shredded. And I was like, Evan, oh my goodness, why didn't you tell me that your toes were wearing out? I'm like, I could have, cut off the toes and knit you new toes. And he's like, no, it's okay. I'm like, no, I can fix the toes. And he's like, no, they're too far gone. And he kind of flipped, he turned around and flipped his foot up, and the sole of the sock is completely like gone. And I was like, why are you still wearing those socks? But apparently he doesn't have, he's like, oh, I don't have enough to really rotate through. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, you need socks, but they need to be like steel wool socks. So I could not make him a pair of socks for this month for the DVD challenge, so I decided to pick out a color for myself. I think most of the colors that I have left are ones that I have picked out for myself. And because most of my gift knitting is done, I can knit them, you know, free range now. I don't have to worry about any other commitments. So these are going to be for myself. I have not picked out a specific pattern for these. Over the past couple of months, I've really been trying to look through my Ravelry library and use patterns that I have previously purchased so that I could make use of that money spent. And I'm not doing that for these. I think I haven't totally decided what I'm doing, but I think I'm going to kind of apply some of the constructions and techniques that I have learned from doing those other patterns to these socks. So I've started with my usual 80 stitch cast on. That's what I like for the leg of my socks, because I like a roomier, more comfy fit. I have wider calves, so I start with 80 stitches. I like to do about a 25 to 30 rows of 2x1 rib, and then I'll either, in some of the other socks I've done the whole leg and rib. I think with these I'm just going to stop and start with the stocking net, and then I think I'm going to do that triangular shaped heel that I've done in a few of the other socks, like the jangle socks that I did for February. I think I'm going to put that in to these socks. So I've kind of done that structure enough times now that I know how to do it without referring to a pattern, so it's kind of becoming like a new vanilla pattern for me. And yeah, I really want to try them. I was almost tempted to do a German short row heel, but I was like, no, I really want to have a pair of socks for myself that have that kind of triangular structure. So they're basically going to be vanilla. I might look through my stitch dictionary and see if maybe there's a cable that I could put down the back of the sock, and then maybe have that cable split so that it goes along the side of the triangle along the heel. I'm thinking of maybe doing that. We'll have to see. But so far, this is what I have done of my May Desert Vista Dyeworks socks, and I am really, really enjoying how these knit up. We'll see how far I get for next week. The final work in progress that I have to share with you is another new cast on, and this is one that I have been dying to cast on. I think I wanted to cast it on for April, and I decided it just was not going to be a good month for that. I was not going to have a lot of time to work on it, so I was like, May is a better time. So even though I am not done that lace pullover, guys, I really wanted to have that done by the end of the month. It was just not going to happen, so I just didn't pick it up at all this week. But I am going to be getting back to that after this show is done. I'm going to be getting back to that. I want to finish that up. I want to get the gift done. I want to get that video filmed of how I seam it up. So that will be coming. But I decided to cast on something new because that's what you do, right? And I cast on the Cumulus Blouse. This is one I had mentioned before. That was going to be the next garment for myself. Another goal on my bingo card is to complete 5 adult garments. And I have a feeling I put adult garments just because I'm kind of tempted to try and make Dennis another sweater this year, but they're mostly going to be for myself. So I cast on the Cumulus Blouse, and I had showed you before that I had this yarn here that my dad brought back for me when he went on a trip to China. It is supposed to be cashmere yarn. It is very, very soft. It is a rather fine yarn, and the pattern for the Cumulus Blouse does call for lace weight yarn to be held double. I don't know if this is lace weight. I think it's pretty close. It's definitely finer than fingering, but I think it will work nicely being held double for this pattern. I only have a little bitty bit started, but I am really enjoying this so far. So this is what I have, and it is a top-down pattern. It has a very nice V-neck shaping, which I really like, but otherwise the construction is pretty simple. It's just a very simple silhouette, which I like. I'm going to be making it longer than the pattern shows because I want to wear it with my leggings, more of a tunic. But yeah, it's just kind of an open fabric. I'm working it on 4.5 millimeter needles. I really, really like the fabric. It's very airy, but not, I don't find it to be like loose and sloppy. It's very soft and kind of squishy, and I really like how this yarn is knitting up with this. So nothing too major so far. It's just the standard kind of raglan increases there. I will say that the pattern did make me pause and think for a minute because the way it is written, whenever I have done a top-down raglan sweater, there will always be a row where it tells you to set up. So you're setting up for the increases, and it will tell you where to put stitch markers so that you know where you are doing your increases. And this pattern didn't do that. It was just like, knit so many stitches, knit raglan stitch, knit so many other stitches, knit raglan stitch, and then the next row you started increasing around the raglan stitch. I was like, well, I'm going to forget where that raglan stitch is. So I kind of had to figure out where to put the markers so that going forward following this pattern, it's very easy to visualize where I'm putting the increases and stuff like that. So yeah, this is all I have done so far. I really like the color, I like the fabric, I'm liking the pattern so far, other than just having to figure out where to put the stitch markers. I anticipate once things kind of calm down that I will be able to really work on this. It just seems like it's going to be a very mindless pattern that I can kind of work through while watching things. And it's just once I get to the body, it's just going to be stockinette. So I feel like this will be a very easy wearable garment to finish. So that is all the knitting that I completed this week. It wasn't a ton, it was little bits here and there, but I don't think it was too bad considering all the things that were going on. So now before I go on to the collection, I'm going to talk about my goals update. So every month I like to give myself mini goals that kind of work towards my larger goals for my Crafty Bingo Challenge. If you are not familiar with the Crafty Bingo Challenge, head over to the Bling Your String group on Ravelry. It's a year-long challenge where you create your own goals and you kind of put them. I create a bingo card for you. You put your own goals into that card. It can be as whatever goals work best for you. It goes to the end of the year and you can join in anytime. So as long as the goals that you create aren't things that you've already finished up to this point in the year, you can still join in and you can still create a card and goals. And then, there's lots of discussion, there's lots of people sharing what they're doing. It's very inspirational. But yeah, so I have my bingo card, and I'll probably in another month or two do a bingo card update on how I'm doing. But every month I like to give myself mini goals to work towards those bigger goals. So my goals for April, and I'm going to pop up a picture of my finished objects for April. I think this is the month with my lowest amount of finished objects, but it's April, it's the start of my busy time, so I'm not surprised. But yeah, so here is the things that I finished, and then my goals for April were to cast on a new children's garment, and I did. I started the lace pullover, to finish the Scott base socks, which I did, to do the Mystic spin. I did not. I have not even started it. It is still, the fiber is still in the basket over near my spinning wheel. That I'm going to be starting shortly. Finish my April Desert Vista Dyeworks socks, I did, and to start a sample pair of socks, which I did. So my goals for May are to finish the lace pullover, to do the Mystic spin, finish the body of the Cumulus Blouse, do my May Desert Vista Dyeworks socks, finish the sample socks, and cast on a pair of sport weight socks. So even though I don't have as many objects finished for April, I feel like a lot of the things I was working on are like almost done or halfway done or getting to that almost done point. So I feel like May should be a good month for finishing a bunch of objects. So that is all the knitting that I have to talk about this week. I just had Mr. T, he was on the table, and he has just crawled into my lap for some extra cuddles, but I think it will be okay because what I have left is I want to talk about my tension glove and then also the collection for this week. And I think I can do that with a kitty cat in my lap. So to start, I want to talk about the tension glove. Now, I do not know what brand this was. I'm going to have to, I've had this thing for years and years and years. I am going to try and do an online search and see if I can find it. I did purchase it at Mary Maxim originally. I'm going to see if I can find something similar. I'll try and find something that I can link to. But basically, this is what it looks like. So it's just this kind of stretchy kind of like lycra material. There's one, I think, finger hole at the top there, so for your pointer finger, and then there's a bigger hole for the rest of your fingers, and then your thumb, and then there's this Velcro strap where you can tighten it. So I am going to put it on my left hand. It is interchangeable, so you can wear it on either hand. I wear it on my left hand because when I am doing a lot of knitting, this is where I feel any strain. So because I kind of knit in a modified, like it's not a true continental style, but I do most of the work with this hand. So these two fingers here, this thumb is doing a lot more work than this hand. This is where I tend to feel any strain if I've been knitting more than usual. And I have found that anytime I even start to feel just a little tingle of soreness along this side here when I'm knitting, as soon as I put this on, it completely goes away, and then I will just wear it for the rest of that time period, just to prevent any kind of aggravation. But I find this so helpful. So there is a Velcro strap here that allows you to kind of tighten it. You can put it on just, you know, slightly tight if you just want a little bit of support, and then if it's really bothering me, I'll just tighten it a little bit. It's very adjustable. I find that the finger portions are very comfortable. I found, yeah, just in general, I find this to be a very comfortable wrist glove, and I find it very helpful. And if something ever happened to this one, I would absolutely try and find either the same one or something very similar. So I do find this, you can see it's all like from the Velcro gets stuck there. It's very worn, but like I said, this is like 10 plus years old. But yeah, I do find this very helpful, and like I said, I will try and link to something similar that I can find. If you have any other questions about it, just let me know. There's really not much to cover other than how it fits, how it works, and that, you know, I find it very helpful, and just that it is adjustable. So yeah, so that's it, and we are going to get on to the collection for this week. So last week there was a vote between two different fabrics that were Disney inspired. One was a Snow White theme and the other was Beauty and the Beast, and Snow White won hands down. I think there was 1 or 2 votes for Beauty and the Beast, but otherwise everybody really loved the Snow White fabric. And while Snow White is not like my all-time favorite Disney movie, I have to say I really like this fabric as well. It's kind of different for a Disney print, and I was able to get 3 pieces out of it. So the first one is just one of my regular pouches, and you can see what I mean here. Like that is very clearly the Snow White silhouette, and there's the evil witch and stuff, and the dwarves. But it's not your typical kind of frou-frou Disney cartoon print. I really like it. So this is a regular pouch. I was also able to get my medium drawstring pouch. This is my mid-buddy size. I got one of these. And I was able to get a Bitty Buddy. This is my smaller drawstring size, so one of these. And then I was able to do a deluxe sock set. I thought this would be a really fun collection to do one in, and I was able to do 2. So this is the sock set here. I'm calling it Poisoned Apple, and yeah, the main skein is just kind of this fun chartreuse, like neon type green, speckled in with black on the natural base, and then the coordinating skeins, the accent skeins, are this red and then the black. And then for the stitch marker that goes along with my deluxe sock sets, I did a little apple, and can you see I've got a little bite. There's a little bite taken out of the apple. So this is the stitch marker that will come with this set. And again, there will be 2 of those available on the site. And then next I have the vote for the next collection. I am starting to get some new fabrics in. Thank goodness, after the frolic I did a whole, I'm still waiting on it, I'm hoping it comes next week, but I did a huge fabric order with lots of new prints for me to work with. I've really been kind of yearning for some new prints to work with, so this will be exciting. I'll be able to share those with you over the next couple of weeks. But for the next collection I picked out 2 prints, and one is kind of cutesy and fun, and then the other one is a little more stylistic, so we'll see which one you guys pick. So the first one here is these owls. I really, really liked the colors in this, and again, I thought this would be a really cute one to do a sock set with and have a little owl stitch marker. So that is your first choice, the owls. And then your second choice, I had to get this one, especially if you've been around and you know some of the projects that I have worked on, or one particular project that I've worked on the last few months or so, the catacorns. I saw this catacorn fabric and I thought this was absolutely adorable. And again, can you picture a little catacorn progress keeper? That would be so cute. So your second choice is this catacorn fabric. So let me know in the comments below which fabric you would like to see for the next collection, and I will be working on that. And that is it. That is all I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you have a fabulous weekend with lots and lots of crafting. I can't wait for tomorrow and to go to the Sunshine Fiber Fest and to see any of you that might be coming. So yeah, I will see you in a week. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I will talk to you again soon. Bye.